And here we go. Another episode of Cash's Top 5. I've been wanting to do this one for a long time, and joining me today, the perfect person to rank this top 5, longtime friend Paige Striggs. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I got to tell you, it still feels a little weird to say Striggs. You're
I
Paige
know.
Murray. It's like it's one word, Paige Murray.
Okay.
Does it take a little get used to have the married name?
Yeah, I didn't even change it for a year. I didn't know how to write it.
Yeah. Well, Paige, thank you for joining the show today. It's going to be a fun episode. You want to tell everybody what we're going to be ranking today?
Yes, very exciting. We are ranking our top 5 Harry Potter characters.
Harry Potter characters. Now, obviously, hundreds,
Yeah.
of characters to choose from. And we were talking a little bit earlier. It's a good point. Are we going off of the book version of characters? Are we going off the movie? Now, it's been a while, I'll be honest, since I read the books.
Same.
And because you can watch a movie over and over and over again, books, you got to invest a little more time. But I'm curious to see how it goes. We'll go ahead and get things kicked off. Start with your number 5, Paige. Who is your 5th favorite Harry Potter character ever?
My number 5 is, I think, somebody unexpected, but I love her. It's Ginny Weasley.
Okay, Ginny. Now, I
Yes.
went back and forth on her
Yes.
because I feel like she's kind of polarizing. People, there were like the Ginny stans that loved her no matter what, and then there were the ones that didn't want her to be with Harry. They
Yeah.
thought she was annoying in the book, not necessarily the movie as much.
Mhm.
What do you love about Ginny?
I love Jenny because Jenny's tough. She comes from a big family of all boys. She's the only girl. And I think everybody thinks that, like, Jenny, especially in the movies, which she's not like this in the books, but they think that she's shy and she's kind of awkward. But she's really not. She's a powerful witch and people overlook her. And I think that her and Hermione as friends are just an awesome duo.
A little bit of girl power in a
Girl power for
male-dominated
sure.
story. Yeah. Well, my number 5 for you is somewhat related because, like I said, it's kind of a male-dominated series. A lot of
Mhm.
dude characters,
A lot.
but my number 5 is Hermione.
Mhm.
And to be honest, if this was 17-year-old Cash talking, we'd probably rank her a little higher. There might have still been a huge crush going on. But overall, just this really strong character. She was the brains, Harry and Ron were just so dumb at times. And she was like, no, you guys are idiots. And she explains why. And she's such an integral part in how they take down he who must not be named.
Yes.
Without her, there is no success in that war. So, and some really funny lines. Now, I will admit that I enjoyed movie Hermione more than book Hermione.
Mhm.
So I feel like book Hermione kept going on and on about the elves and
Oh, yeah.
wanting to like spew, which never made it into the ethical treatment of elves. I get it. It shows her character, but I got so tired of that storyline in the books, and I'm like, can we just move on, please? But such a great character, Hermione at number 5.
Awesome.
Who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I love Remus Lupin.
Really? Okay. Tell me about him.
He is so awesome. He had a rough life, but still he is very just compassionate and loving, even though he's been through so much and he's an outcast. And Dumbledore kind of took him in, and his friends took him in, the Marauders, and he just turned out to be a good guy, even though he has been through so much. I mean, he's a werewolf, so that's awesome.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched or read the books. Yeah, strong choice. And I think my favorite part about Lupin is his answer to everything is eat some chocolate.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's my kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like, which one, do you have a favorite book in the series?
My favorite book, I would say probably because I've read it the most, is The Philosopher's Stone.
The first one? Okay.
Mhm.
See, I think my favorite one is still The Prisoner of Azkaban. And
That's
that's
my
when
favorite movie.
I feel like that's when they go from being kids to being like
Yes,
teenagers, and the story gets a little darker. And we learn a little bit more about Snape and Harry's
yes.
family background, and obviously Lupin is introduced in that year, and he was such a big part of that. And I didn't love the character in the movies as much. I feel like he was much cooler in the books,
Mhm.
but still, really good choice. My number 4 for you is somebody that I thought when I first started putting this list together for you, I thought this guy would rank higher, but I had to be honest with myself, and there were others that just were ahead of him. Um, he has my favorite moment in the entire series, and that is Professor Snape.
I love Snape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he evolved. I think as the books were coming out, because the years become foggy, but it
Oh,
wasn't completed while we were reading it, and so I feel like there's a huge redemption arc to his story that we didn't know as we were reading,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of people hated his guts because he
Yeah.
was so mean to Harry. Um, but I got it. It's not even close. My favorite part of the series in the movies, always. I mean, it makes me cry
It
every
does.
time. Um, yeah.
Well, I ranked him one higher than you.
Oh
He's
yeah, you
my
got Snape at
number
number
three.
3.
Yep, he's my number three. And I like Snape because I think that really Harry Potter is just a love story.
Yeah.
It's a love story. It's so romantic. And when that dough comes out of his wand, and even Dumbledore was like, "What? That's what it was this whole time? I thought you were protecting Harry." He's like, "No,
No.
I don't really care about Harry. I love Lily." And when his
Which
Patronus came out and it was a doe, I was like, "Oh, my heart." And he was like a triple agent, so that's cool.
yeah, it's like some Mission Impossible going on in the
Oh
Harry
yeah,
Potter
for
verse.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking too. That
It is.
it's the unrequited love. She ended up with
It,
James,
she
and it
did.
kind of makes you question, like, oh man, could you have ended up with somebody else, or what might have happened? So you've got Ginny at number 5, you've got Lupin at 4, and Snape at 3.
I
So now
do.
I'm curious how it's going to go. My number 3 for you is kind of a cop out. I apologize immediately because it's 2 characters,
Okay.
but they might as well be the same. I
Yeah.
got Fred and George
Yes.
Weasley, the twins, because they were so cool. They realized we're not going to go to whatever wizard college is. You
Yeah.
know, there's no
Not gonna do
secondary
anything
education.
magic.
Exactly. We're gonna open up a joke shop. We're gonna make a ton of money. We're going to have the Marauders map,
Mm-hmm.
and still, think of all the power and awesome stuff you can do with the Marauders map. And they still know it's the best decision to go ahead and give it to Harry.
Yes.
And funny lines. I don't know. They were just so cool. They were like the cool older brothers, like Percy, who thankfully is not much, not in the movies very much. Ron's older brother, just kind of stuffy and bleh.
Yes.
And the Weasley twins were just like, nah, we're cool, bro. I
No, we're not
love
gonna do that.
them. Okay, we're getting towards the top here.
We're getting
Your
there.
2 favorite Harry Potter characters. Again, Ginny, Lupin, and Snape. Who do you have at number 2?
Sirius Black.
Really?
Yes.
I would love to hear why he ranks so high for you.
I love Sirius Black because he was definitely a rebel of his family. His family are like crazy inbreds or something, pure blood only. They have issues. Okay, he's
Yeah.
like, and he realizes that he's like, my family's crazy, and I don't care if they don't like me. I'm gonna do my own thing, And he got chosen for a different house. All his family were Slytherin, I believe, and he was like, yeah, I'm cool off that. Even the hat knew that he wasn't like his family. So that's why I love him so much. And of course, the way that he broke out of Azkaban, so that's crazy. After he got out of Azkaban and found Harry and took him under his wing, he kind of became his father figure. And I just love him for that.
I think that's one where I think they benefited from the actor who played him, because I enjoyed Sirius, the character in the book, but
Yes.
Gary Oldman was like the perfect Sirius
Yes.
Black.
So good.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 2 for you, just to recap, 5, I had Hermione, then I had Snape, then I had Fred and George, the Weasley twins. My number 2 for you probably ranks higher on other lists. We'll see where, if it ranks for yours. But Albus Dumbledore is my second favorite Harry Potter character. Unbelievably quotable. You know, just so many great lines. Do not pity the dead, pity the living, and above all, those who live without love. I mean, just, I'm sure that's stitched on pillows and
Yes,
wall
everywhere.
tapestries everywhere across America. But just, even though there was kind of a murky end there, was he really looking out for Harry's best interest? Was he using him? I don't think for me, it's about chips in the bank. You know, how much goodwill have you stored up with somebody? And I don't know, I feel like he genuinely cared to have been such a grandfatherly, professorial character for Harry Potter and the others as well. And he was just cool. Now, question for you. Do you prefer the first Dumbledore from the first 2 movies, Richard Harris, or do you like Michael Gambon, who started with Prisoner of Azkaban on?
I think that each actor was fitting for the timeline. So in the beginning, I feel like he was like friendlier, and he became darker as the movie did. So I think that the actor change it fit. I like both.
Oh, that's so diplomatic. I don't like that. I wanted you to pick one.
I like both.
See, I did not care for the first one, Richard Harris. He was kind of old and and the second one came along and he was just, I'm Harry. I don't know. He was just, I don't know, seemed looser. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dumbledore. Okay. We've reached the top. Ginny, Lupin, Snape, Sirius. Who do you have at number 1?
And I ranked him one higher than you. My number 1 is Albus Dumbledore.
Okay, well, tell me why he's your number 1.
I like Dumbledore because I feel like he's like kind of like your flamboyant uncle.
Yeah.
He is. He's eccentric, and he just kind of does his own thing. He knows that he's not perfect, and he doesn't, say that he is. He knows that he's flawed, but he tries to make up for some of his past by educating the youth and trying to teach them to be good, because he knows that he could have taken a dark path at some point in time. And he's very serene and calming, but also kind of eccentric and quirky.
That's true. I mean, at the end of, I think it's the 6th one, Half-Blood Prince. No, sorry, end of Order of the Phoenix, when they have the big showdown and he has I forget who they're attacking, but it's right before they realize that, yeah, Voldemort is back. He's like super duper old, but he can still kick all this ass, and he's got all these cool spells. Do you get into the prequel stuff, like the Fantastic Beasts? Are you into the younger Dumbledore?
I've seen the Fantastic Beasts movies. I feel like we need the next one for me to say
to see if it's worth it or not.
You got super young. This timeline is weird.
Yeah. Well, that's a really strong list. I'll tell you my number 1, and I guess I'm a little surprised that a couple of yours maybe didn't make it. But again, we said this is difficult,
It's very difficult. Yeah.
Just 5, because there are a lot of lovable characters.
Yeah.
But my number 1, again, Hermione, Snape, Fred and George Weasley. Dumbledore is my number 2. My number 1 for you, Paige, Murray, Striggs. I've got Hagrid. Rubius Hagrid is my number 1.
Yes.
And it's the reason why Sirius probably didn't make my top 5, because I had Sirius down because I love that character. But the reason I love Hagrid so much is the same reason I love Sirius so much, is I've had really strong really great uncle figures in my life. My Uncle Phil is like an older brother, and he's a big burly guy, just like Hagrid.
Yeah.
My old boss Boomer, another big burly dude. They've just been big bros. They've been mentors to me, and they've been, when I've gotten a little too full of myself or I'm a little too unsure about what I want to do in life, they've been there for me. And so for Hagrid to have always been there for Harry, when he dies briefly, he's the one who carries him out of the forest. I mean, you're a wizard, Harry. It's the iconic, kicks the whole series off.
Yes.
I love it. So strong list. I've got to know who your honorable mentions are. Who barely didn't make the list?
Bellatrix Lestrange.
Now you were just saying you've got a cat, and you named your cat Bellatrix after Lestrange.
I did.
That's a lot of love.
They have a very Bellatrix-like personality.
Yeah.
Not always lovable.
Anybody else?
And Luna Lovegood.
Now, see, that was one I thought would make your top 5 because she is just quirky as hell.
She is.
And she's a lot of fun.
She's a lot of fun. I think that maybe she didn't make my top 5 because when I was really thinking about it, I couldn't find like a ton of history on her.
Right.
So just with like character development, she wasn't in my top 5, but I love her personally.
Well, she joined kind of late in the game.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if this were a TV show, she's the character that joins midstream and then becomes kind of like Walking Dead. Then that one becomes the main character all of a sudden. She would have probably carried the torch had the story kept going. I was also a little surprised no Neville. How do you feel about Neville?
How do I feel about Neville? I like Neville. He's not my favorite. He's more of a presence in the books because he's kind of like, Hermione, Ron, and Harry's like more of their friend. I feel like in the movies, they kind of like, even in the books, I think he went to the Chamber of Secrets with them, but he didn't go in the movie. So I kind of lost, I don't know, just interest in him with watching the movies after. Maybe when I go back and read them, I'll love him a little more.
That makes sense. Probably because logistics of shooting a movie.
Yeah.
Like he would have to be there as much as the other main 3.
Oh,
and they're not going to do that. So they're like, we can probably push you to the back a little bit.
Neville out. Yeah.
I think it's funny that we didn't have Harry or Ron, neither one of us. I almost didn't have Hermione. Neither one of us almost didn't have any of the major 3.
Yeah.
But I really love McGonagall. She's a lot of fun. I like Barty Crouch Jr. So the fake Mad Eye Moody.
Yes.
The creepy, David Tennant with the tongue lick. Cool, creepy. Just creepy, like, ugh. But that's more of me loving the actor than the actual character. So I had to bump him down. Anybody you absolutely hate, your most hated character?
I don't think so.
Really?
Who do you think?
I can't watch Order of the Phoenix because of Dolores Umbridge.
Oh yeah, everybody hates her.
I hate her
guts.
too. Oh man. Well, Paige, thank you so much for doing this. I wanted to do a Harry Potter one for a while, and I knew I should probably mention you very graciously asked me to officiate you and Mario's wedding, and on the gift table, you guys had a bird cage where people could write little love notes to the happy new couple. And it was like Hedwig's, you wrote little owl messages or people could write those to you guys. I thought that was the coolest thing. I'd never seen that before.
Well, thank you for officiating and thank you for having me.
Of course. Paige, thank you very much for being on. We'll talk to you soon, dear.